Chapter 2. Systematic exploitation of the tribals. A deep-rooted injustice. The Métis community have always been completely dead set against any and every beneficial protection accorded to the tribals. This comes from their outrageous but influential conviction that tribals are akin to outcasts. They call the tribals Hayamaka, which connotes untouchable. Therefore, the tribals in Manipur continue to be victims of both cultural and structural injustice. Disproportionate representation in the state legislative assembly. While accounting for more than 40% of the total population of the state, only 19 seats are reserved for tribals out of the total 60 seats in the state legislative assembly. They remain unable to play any substantial role in the decision-making process in the state. Additionally, the Métis have continued to sabotage the delimitation exercise in the Manipur state, out of fear that the delimitation will proportionately increase tribal representation in the state legislative assembly. As per the 2011 census, each of the tribal MLAs from the hill areas of Manipur represents 1,004.45 square kilometer and 55,107 persons each, while their counterparts in the valley represent 56 square km and 43,294 persons respectively. Thus, the current institutional arrangements are made to be dependent on the Manipur state government. Government laws and policies become mere instruments of the Manipur state's assertion into tribal and hill affairs. This intermittent problem continues without any solution in sight under the current arrangement. Toothless Hill Areas Committee. While the Hill Areas Committee, HAC, formed under Art 371C, read with the Hill Areas Committee, Order, 1972, and the Districts Councils, DCs, under the Manipur Hill Areas District Council Act, 1971, were instituted to protect tribal interests. Their proper functioning is obstructed time and again. The Hill Areas Committee, HAC, only has recommending power on scheduled matters pertaining to hill areas. With only 20 tribal MLAs out of the 60-member Legislative Assembly, both the HAC and District Council are continuously undermined and bypassed by the Manipur Assembly. The Métis, regardless of who comes to power, being a majority in the Manipur Legislative Assembly, continuously undermine and impede the functioning of the Hill Areas Committee and the District Councils. Unlike other autonomous district councils, under the 6th Schedule, in Northeast India, the structure and powers of the district councils in Manipur are fundamentally flawed and insufficient. It does not have any legislative or judicial power. At best, it enjoys recommending power. The provision of the council itself is also susceptible to interference by the Manipur government through amendments. The arbitrary amendment to the Manipur Hill Areas District Council Act, 1971, in the years 2000, 2006, 2008 and 2011 are simply cosmetic facelifts. Thus, both the HAC and the District Councils of Manipur are time-tested toothless provisions which totally fail to protect, safeguard and develop the tribals in Manipur, as against the case of tribals in other parts of Northeast India. They fail to effectively safeguard the tribal land and identity, and impede the fulfillment of their political aspiration. Institutional neglect of hill areas. All the important government offices and all eminent educational, technical and medical institutions are exclusively concentrated in the Imphal Valley. Central Agricultural University, CAU, Central Institute of Plastics Engineering and Technology, SIPIT, Manipur University, MU, Regional Institute of Medical Sciences. RIMS, Jawaharlal Nehru Institute of Medical Sciences, NIMS, National Institute of Technology. NIT, Manipur Institute of Technology, MIT, Institute of Bioresources and Sustainable Development, IBSD. Takialpat, Manipur Technical University, National Sports Academy Kuman Lampak, National Sports University, Sports Authority of India, etc. On the other hand, the hill districts remain grossly neglected. Indeed, the often repeated claim that the Imphal Valley is becoming more and more congested is not due to tribal settlement in the valley as they claim. The fact is that it is due to the ever-increasing concentration of government infrastructures exclusively within the confines of Impel Valley alone, and the introduction of a legislative law that prohibits any horizontal growth in the name of agriculture, forest, and environmental protection that only limits their existing land resources. On the other hand, the hill districts remain grossly neglected in terms of development and funding. The popular claim that Métis cannot settle in hill areas is also completely wrong. There are many Métis colonies in hill areas like Lamka, Churachandpur, Kangpokpi, Tengnupal, Moor, etc., where the Métis can obtain the right to purchase land by following due procedure. Protective discrimination undermined. The Manipur reservation of vacancies in post and services for ST/SC Act 1976 has been kept inoperative for one reason or the other. The Manipur government fails to formulate its recruitment rules and never implements the 100-point roster in reservation. Since 2007, the Manipur government replaced the same with a new 200-point roster against the protest of the tribals. The state government has also repeatedly failed to implement ST quota/reservation based on the ratio of tribal population, as was done in other north-eastern states. The recent quota issue at RIMS in the recruitment of lower divisional clerk and the Manipur University quota reservation is the latest example, among many others, to reclaim the established quota system. The All Tribal Students Union, Manipur, ATSUM, even had to resort to an all-hill district shut down on April 24, 2023. Tinkering of the reservation system and quotas has pervaded every recruitment in Manipur. This is clear from a cursory glance at the total number of Manipur government employees, category-wise in various departments. Rejection of Tribal 6th Schedule demand. The Hill Areas Committee officially demanded the extension of the 6th Schedule to the hills areas of Manipur in the year 1974, but has always been outrightly rejected by the Métis-dominated state government. The demand was reiterated in the years 1978, 1983, 1990, 2002, and 2003, as the demand for 6th Schedule garnered strength among tribals. Elections were boycotted for more than 20 years, from the late 1980s to 2010, although the state cabinet recommended for extension of the 6th Schedule provision in hill areas of the state on 3 occasions, i.e. 1991, 1992, and 2001, they shrewdly added the statement with certain local adjustment and amendment, and did not give any explanation as to what that means and imply as required by the Union of India. Cultural imposition and land encroachment. The Manipur government formulated the Manipur cultural policy without giving due consideration to the presence of tribal cultures. According to this policy, everything Métis is Manipur, and Manipur is the land of the Métis and Meiteilon speakers alone. To be Manipuri means to be Métis alone. Following this, the Métis Mayak script, which is alien to the tribals, was imposed in all government schools. This move of cultural assimilation and domination is highly resentful and discriminating to tribals. The Manipur government fails to formulate its forest policy and laws. In the absence of nodal forest agency to redress forest-related tribal grievances, the Manipur government has conveniently clubbed all tribal lands under community forest, while there is no causeland in tribal areas. The abnormal increase in forest cover area simply implies that more tribal land is being encroached. Unfair budgetary and development allocation. There is an unfair allocation of funds for developmental works in the hills and valleys. On development and infrastructure, funding goes unproportionate to the valley alone. Many villages in the hills are surviving without basic health care services, water supply, and electricity. The state government discontinued the practice of preparing a separate hill budget in the 1980s without any substantial explanation. Although 90% of the state is hill areas, the budgetary allocation for developing the hill areas never crosses 10% of the state's budget. Moreover, the grant in aid, Art. 275, received for the development of the hill areas is diverted for the development of valley areas. ANTI Tribal 3 Bills, 2015, legislative acts were passed by the Manipur legislature time and again, which directly attempted to take control over lands in the hill areas. In each case, the tribals and their representatives were situationally helpless to counter those in the assembly. For example, the Manipur Hill Areas Acquisition of Chiefs' Rights Act, 1967, authorized the government to acquire the rights, title and interest of chiefs over land in the hills of Manipur. At the same time, the Act aimed at extending the Manipur Land Revenue and Land Reform Act, 1960, to the hill areas, thereby authorizing the state government to acquire land, rights and titles. This attracted widespread opposition from the tribals. The death of 9 tribals in a police shooting in August 2015 was also a clear manifestation of the unresolved political problem between the hills and valley. On August 31, 2015, the Manipur legislature passed 3 very controversial bills: the Protection of Manipur People Bill, the Manipur Land Reforms, 7th Amendment Bill, and the Manipur Shops and Establishment, 2nd Amendment, Bill. The hill tribes were gravely apprehensive of the bills as it intrudes on their land rights. It led to widespread anger and protest. In the course of introducing the bills in the Manipur Assembly session, no due discussion was held on the bills in utter disregard of the rules of procedure and conduct of business. They were also introduced as money bills to bypass the hill areas committee. Illegitimate demand for ST status. The Métis community, despite being an advanced majority community who are also enjoying reservation benefits under SC, OBC and EWS quota, is now demanding Scheduled Tribe ST status to monopolize all available privileges and resources in a total sense. If they were to also become ST on top of the other reservations, this will nullify all legal protections that tribals currently possess. The Métis acquiring ST status would mean that the consent and approval of the district councils would no longer be required for acquiring and buying land. Naturally, the Hill Areas Committee, HAC, and any legal provisions for the protection of the tribals will become dysfunctional. Moreover, the status and position of the tribals will be further reduced in the Manipur Legislative Assembly. The same will happen to district councils and parliamentary elections, as the Métis will then be able to contest in all constituencies. This will ensure their total majoritarian domination of Manipur and, based on their treatment of minorities in the state, the constitutionally unprotected tribals will then be seriously vulnerable to the threat to their lands and, indeed, to their very existence.
Our state government, the Honorable Chief Minister of Manipur, has declared war on the KUKI Zo community, and we are being termed as militants again. While we are defending, while our husbands, our sons, and our brothers are defending our people, they are being termed as militants. And we are very saddened by the fact that not a word has been uttered until now by our Honorable Prime Minister of India. So this stretch of land, we have been threatened by the leader of Métis Lipun that they are going to wipe this stretch of land clean of all KUKI communities. And we are praying to God because we have God, and only God is there to protect us. Only God can save us from this threat, from these attacks. And we believe that God will answer our prayers, because every land belongs to God, and God has given us this land to settle here from many years ago, even our grandfathers and forefathers. And we believe that we will continue to inhabit this stretch of land until the day of the Lord. Thank you.